Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Hope you're having a good weekend. And I'll tell you, I hate it when it gets dark early. You know, about 4:30, it's pitch black out. But that's how it is, you know, when the earth tilts. Proof in itself that the earth is round, to those of you who think it's flat. A flat world would not have seasons like this, or, you know, okay. I don't know how the hell people, you know, you have to understand basic physics in order to understand how the world is round, okay? But I guess a lot of dummies out there don't know fucking basic physics. But anyway, speaking of dummies, you got the big dummy herself, Megyn Kelly, put her foot in her mouth here the other day, and she's got everybody in a fucking tiff here now, and everybody's been talking about it. Can't, you know, go through any news stuff here without bumping into this, which, you know, her talking about Jeffrey Epstein and her convoluted effort to try to minimize what this man did, and in an attempt to defend Trump. I guess, you know, I mean, you know, the mental gymnastics that people in MAGA have to do these days in order to try to justify continuing to support this man is remarkable. I mean, these are the same people years ago who thought Democrats were so immoral to defend Bill Clinton for what, you know, he had done with Monica Lewinsky. And they were saying, oh, the mental gymnastics these people have to go through. You know, Clinton doesn't hold a candle to anything that Trump and Epstein did, okay? Let's put that out on the table. I'm not saying that, you know, there's good, bad, and bad, okay? But what I'm saying is that don't go around criticizing other people of shit when you're going to turn around and defend your side of doing the same crap, if not worse. Because you lose your credibility like that, okay? You won't win no arguments in any court case or anything like that with jurors if it comes across that, you know, you're just an apologist for people doing even worse things. All right, so let's go to this video here from the iHip girls, and they're going to kind of lay out in detail here what Megyn Kelly had said and how they feel about that. So let's go to that video here. We'll come back.
It is an absolute shambles with the drop of the Epstein files, and the parallels between MAGA men and the Nazis are coming in, and science is proving that there is a micro penis link. Stay tuned. This is going to be piping hot tea first, right out of the gates. We have MAGA apologist, and now I guess this is really disturbing that a woman could say this.
Agree.
This is Megyn Kelly, and she is moving the goalposts on what consent is, on what pedophilia is. Play the clip.
For Epstein, I've said this before, but just as a reminder, I do know somebody very, very close to this case who is in a position to know virtually everything. Not everything, but virtually everything. And this person has told me from the start, years and years ago, that Jeffrey Epstein, in this person's view, was not a pedophile. This is this person's view, who was there for a lot of this, but that he was into the barely legal type. Like he liked 15-year-old girls. And I realize this is disgusting. I'm definitely not trying to make an excuse for this. I'm just giving you facts. That he wasn't into like 8-year-olds, but he liked the very young teen types that could pass for even younger than they were, but would look legal to a passerby. And that is what I believed, and that was what I reliably was told for many years. And it wasn't until we heard from Pam Bondi that they had tens of thousands of videos of alleged, forgive me, they used to call it kiddie porn. Now they call it child sexual abuse material on his computer, that for the first time I thought, oh no, he was an actual pedophile. I mean, only a pedophile gets off on young children abuse videos. She's never clarified it. I don't know whether it's true. I have to be honest. I don't really trust Pam Bondi's word on the Epstein matters anymore. Yeah. So,
okay. So let me just tell you, if you know somebody who was in Jeffrey Epstein's inner circle, who is trying to make split hairs about the age gap in certain victims of rape, and then you're repeating that as though that is a credible person, what you're repeating is the mindset of all of the people within this pedophile cult ring. And Trump, who she, defends, and it's a hill she'll die on to support this man, on Howard Stern and other places, he basically doesn't think a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old is off limits.
I have read a bunch of what Jeffrey Epstein reportedly said and how he justified his behavior, and he justified it exactly like this. Well, in certain parts of the world, the age of consent is younger. So having sex with younger girls, it's just an arbitrary construct. This to me falls so flat on its face, and there is zero justification for this. Full stop. But it's unbelievable.
And I just think that there is an effort that women are playing in this regime to use their gender to help justify the objectification and the discussions of the erosion of civil liberties for women. And it's not just this administration. We see institutions that are engaged in this as well. All right, moving along. You may remember before he picked Pam Bondi, Kanks picked Matt Gaetz. And here's a really disturbing story dropping. Kylie, pop this up. For the first time, the story of the 17-year-old girl who testified that she had sex with Matt Gaetz for money. She was living in and out of a homeless shelter. She was working at McDonald's. She had just finished her junior year in high school, and she wanted extra money to try to save up to pay for braces to fix her teeth. And this is not surprising, because even our Senator Booster Box, Mark Wayne Mullins from the state of Oklahoma, had talked about that he thought that Matt Gaetz was, a sexual predator, et cetera. But in the MAGA world, they just continue to make space for this. And because the girl was poor and or homeless, she's immediately dehumanized to MAGA white evangelical Christians. There is an immediate dehumanization about a girl that is poor. And it goes beyond just all of the other groups that they marginalize, specifically as it relates to the MAGA regime. One through line is racism, but also an onslaught of attacks towards people living in poverty.
I think when you look at the Epstein situation also, you look at it as a class issue. Ghislaine Maxwell is quoted as saying, well, they don't matter, they're poor. They have absolutely decided that poor people don't have feelings, they don't have families, they don't have desires, they don't have hopes, dreams, they don't want any of the emotional comfort. It is disgusting. And that is something we have to address, because you look at this situation, they tell these girls in these situations, no one will believe you. I'm rich and powerful. You're poor and from an imperfect family. Why would anybody believe you? And honestly, when you look at the situation unfolding, that's exactly what's turning out all these years later.
All right. And so I think that some members of the Republican Party are going to start breaking ranks. They are seeing that this frail president, who yesterday was doing some sort of show and tell with his wife, and the makeup and the concealer on the hand was more than we've ever seen before. He was falling asleep standing up, which is new for him. And I didn't think that he could quite do that. So they see that they're strong man, the person, the hill that they have died on. He is frail. He is weak. The curtains are closing not only on him biologically, but the clock is ticking on his second term. So Republicans are breaking rank. Well, what is the one thing that has held this whole cult together from the beginning to now? And it is the evangelical base support. So what does Kanks do yesterday? He starts to Christian signal right in the middle of his defense of a pedophile. And right after he went to the Supreme Court to fight to make sure that poor children didn't receive food.
Thank you. The Bible tells us that one of the measures of any society is how it cares for vulnerable children and orphans. So important, and it's so big in the Bible. So as we make America great again, we are going to protect American children in foster care. And
okay, yeah, kind of like you protected all of the women at Jeffrey Epstein's house, kind of like you've protected all of the children that USAID funds broke out, kind of like you care about all of the Democratic children that happen to have Democratic parents who you say are the enemy from within. And I want to remind you guys, as you hear Megyn Kelly say that, as you hear what Matt Gaetz did, as you hear what Donald Trump has done, these are the people that had a stage 5 meltdown about drag shows. These are the people that have stage 5 meltdowns about books. These are the people that freak out about Bad Bunny appearing in the Super Bowl. Yet they can just casually speak about this Epstein thing and splitting hairs about, an 8-year-old or a 12-year-old versus a 15-year-old. But if it's a 15-year-old that looks like maybe she's 18, then that's okay, et cetera, et cetera. And I just want to say this for the permanent record. The Bill Clinton situation with Monica Lewinsky being 18, she was of legal age, I think that's abhorrent. I think that power dynamic was absolutely horrible. And I think a lot of that set the psychological soil for the American public to be kind of primed for this. None of this is okay. We need to have leaders that have a lot of boxes checked, that fight for everybody. They need to be better people than we are. But oftentimes, especially in the age of Trump, we have these just really broken, toxic leaders. Which brings me to a new email drop in the middle of this Epstein thing. And y'all can make of this what you will. The tweet says, in one of the leaked emails, Mark Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein's brother, suggests to ask Steve Bannon if Putin has, quote, the photo of Trump blowing Bubba, to which Epstein replied, and I thought I had Thesaurus, which is Yiddish for troubles. Who is Bubba? So Bubba was Bill Clinton's nickname. I don't think Kanks gave Bill Clinton a BJ. But there has been kind of underground reporting, and we've all seen that video where Kanks performs and simulates a blowjob on a microphone with a familiarity that only those who have performed said task would have. And so I just think this is rather interesting. But in any other presidency, in any other country, in any other time period, the news, the corporate news should be beating, screaming, ripping the clothes off, Incredible Hulk style. It keeps coming up. Epstein gave all of this information to Vladimir Putin. Now we've got Kanks given a blowjob, and Putin has that. It says it right there. Kanks blew somebody, and Putin has that information. Putin was in direct contact with Jeffrey Epstein. We all saw Helsinki. We saw where a sitting president of the United States took the side of Russia over American intelligence officers. We saw the Alaska bend over. And we heard from people on site that the administration and the supporting staff of the president, after they had a closed door meeting with Putin, came out and looked like somebody had drained the blood out of their bodies. Multiple sources. So number one, I want to know more details about this blowjob. And number two, did the Biden administration know that Vladimir Putin was talking to Jeffrey Epstein and that Vladimir Putin had even more compromising information on Kanks? And did they decide to sit on that because of polling and focus groups and all of this stuff? There are so many questions that need so many answers in order for our democracy to survive. But this whole thing with Epstein and Putin communicating directly, to me, is not getting the airtime that it needs.
I completely agree. And you look at how Trump has handled Ukraine and Russia. He browbeats Zelensky and he keeps giving Putin ultimatums that he doesn't follow through on. He goes the end around of taxing and sanctioning other countries, but not Putin. You have to ask yourself why. And we thought a PP tape would be bad in Trump 1.0. Here's my thing. We all knew that Putin had something on Trump. Now we realize it was hand-fed to him by Jeffrey Epstein. And that is why Trump is such a pussy. And he says, oh, I thought he liked me. I thought we'd, settled the war. No, he doesn't like you. He fucking owns you.
And furthermore, the American media isn't really covering this. Independent journalists, Democracy Now! Are covering this, and they've always done great work for decades. I've always followed their journalism, but they are also reporting that Israel has the same compromising information on Donald Trump, which then also takes you back to a Biden situation. Biden gave Netanyahu a blank check, and Biden obviously knew that AIPAC was donating out the wazoo to get, Trump elected. And both parties are such failures on this issue. Truly, they're truly failures. If a man is running for president and a convicted pedophile was his best friend, a convicted sex trafficker was his best friend, and this sex trafficker and pedophile had cameras all over his apartment, and has all of this insider information and dined post-conviction at the White House with Trump for Thanksgiving. And he's having conversations with Vladimir Putin and Benjamin Netanyahu. And we're just now finding out about this. How are we as citizens supposed to trust either government, Republican or Democratic, to keep us safe? You don't get to say you're all about national security, and then everybody's sitting on this bullshit. It's wild. All right, let's take a moment to thank Ground News for sponsoring this episode. iHip News would be impossible without our Vantage plan through Ground News. Every single morning, Pumps and I get on, see what the nuts are talking about, see what the fact-based people are talking about, because Ground News is like the Spotify of news. Here's a prime example. A left-leaning headline says, Trump administration threatens states that don't, quote, undo full SNAP payments. Because of my Ground News Vantage plan, this tells me this is a left-leaning publication, and it tells me it is a high factuality article. So I'm for sure going to read that. Then I see another headline, and it says, Trump admin orders states to undo full SNAP payouts after Supreme Court ruling. This tells me that this publication is far right and it has low factuality. So join us by going to groundnews.com/IHIP to get 40% off the Ground News Vantage plan that Pumps and I use every single day. They're subscriber funded, and our favorite part is that they are female founded. By subscribing, you're not only getting a tool that we all need today, you're also supporting our work here at iHip News. That's ground, GROUND news.com/IHIP. And Kylie and Seth have linked this right below in the show notes for your 40% discount. Which brings me to my final video. And Pumps, this is vindication for you. Oh. Pumps has for 2 or 3 years, up against headwinds, a bunch of people that called her penis shamer, penis size queen, lots of ridicule on the internet, but she has maintained steadfast that She believes that a lot of the men in the MAGA movement have small penises, not only energy, small dick, little dick energy, but also micropeens. And there are so many parallels between Hitler's Nazi Germany, and you don't have to go far to look at the parallels. Even smoky eye sociopath, failed drag queen J.D. Vance called his current boss America's Hitler. Mm-hmm. And so the parallels between Trump and Hitler are something really for the history books and for the psychology books. And the science is catching up with you, Pumps, about your micropenis theory. Play the clip.
Found on material from a sofa in Hitler's bunker have been DNA tested, and the results suggest he may have had a rare genetic condition. According to a documentary set to air in the UK, Hitler's DNA has a genetic marker associated with Kallmann syndrome, which can delay puberty, lead to low testosterone levels, and a micropenis. So researchers say if the finding is accurate, it may explain some of the long-running rumors about Hitler's health, including that he...
All right. So he said, including that he had one testicle. We have read on Elon Musk's free speech website, which even just JD Vance yesterday said he's a grok guy and he trusts Twitter more than any other news source, or X, I should call it. Even on that website, it talks about Elon Musk having a botched penile surgery and a rather small penis. Stormy Daniels, very famously on Jimmy Kimmel, he gave her a tray with a bunch of different sized mushrooms. She picked one of the smaller ones on the tray. So, Pumps, my question for you is, number one, do you feel vindicated? And number two, name the people in this administration whom you believe have micropenises in order from smallest to largest.
Okay, thank you for the vindication.
You're welcome.
I absolutely feel vindicated. And here's the deal. You can identify these men by the way they behave. Ted Cruz, Mike Johnson. Now, Mike Johnson, I think he has darker secrets than a micropenis. Stephen Miller, Marco Rubio. These men do not give off big dick energy. They give off, I feel insecure. I need to advertise that I'm an alpha man because my masculinity, I question my masculinity. The number one cause for questioning your masculinity is a micropene. And I can totally believe that Donald Trump has a micropene because Stormy Daniels has been into the belly of the beast and she's seen it. She said it's a nubbin. I buy that 10 times out of 10.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. And I think if you look to Stephen Miller and Lil Smokey, obviously I agree with you about Moses Mike Grinder Johnson. I think we're dealing with a probably a trifecta of issues: micropenis, repressed sexuality, longing to be, dominated, I would just say. So I just think that all of this is rather interesting, and it's rather juicy if we weren't talking about the people that are running the federal government of the United States of America. But I want to leave you with this, that we always have to take a moment to remember. Think about teenage girls that you know that are 14, 15, 16 years old, no matter how developed or underdeveloped they are. Think about how childlike they are mentally and emotionally. And then think about 40, 50, and 60-year-old men that you know. And that's what happened here. These men are rapists. They are pedophiles. They are predators. And the Republican Party, under the Christian signaling leadership of Kanks, are trying to act like they care about children. And you even have Kanks talking about the Bible protecting children. He participated in and knew all about this child pedophilia ring. And because he's so compromised, our national security is compromised. And because it takes such a morally depraved individual to take part in all of this, he has attracted equally morally depraved individuals like Moses Mike Johnson. And they can sit and Christian signal to you all they want. It is simply the same tactic that they accuse us of doing in virtue signaling. These people think they can do anything and say anything they want if they talk about the good Lord And these people are hypocrites. They are sociopath. And probably the majority of them suffering from extreme micro penises. And then I'm just a cascade of issues that follow. All right. To learn more about Pumps and Me, please buy our book, Life is a Lazy Susan of Shit Sandwiches. And like this episode, subscribe to our channel, give us a little comment to feed the algorithm, and we'll be back later with more news.
The movie Bombshell. How many of you saw it? Okay, you saw it. If you didn't see it, maybe you ought to, but I seen it. And I'll tell you, at the time when I saw it, I didn't feel any sympathy for Megyn Kelly and the other two girls there that were supposedly sexually harassed at Fox News by Roger Ailes. Because by the time that movie had come out about that incident there, or those incidents, Megyn Kelly pretty much buried herself with the public, with all the shit that she would say about Democrats and the white Santa Claus and this and that. You know, this woman had a major fucking mouth. She had a major fucking mouth and a friggin' attitude problem, you know, to be true here. But so when they come out with this movie to describe what the hell went on behind the scenes at Fox News, I'm like, A, you could have quit. B, why should we care about you after all the shit, you nasty stuff that you said about Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and, you know, the list goes on. Why should we care that much about what that old fuck there Roger Ailes was doing with you guys, okay? Sorry, you know, you don't earn our respect, for one thing, and therefore you do not earn our sympathies. I think the movie was a waste of money to make, because frankly, there's nobody out there that's really going to, oh, poor Megyn Kelly. And now, after what she was saying here about Donald Trump's and Epstein's little sexcapades here, she's even lower than snake piss now than she ever was before. In fact, I don't even know, you know, in a logical world, she wouldn't even be around anymore. We'd have forgotten her name by now. Okay? She, you know, she would just blend in with the fucking people and we'd never even remember that she was ever around. Okay? Because she would have destroyed her image so bad that no fucking news outlet or nobody would want anything to do with her. But for some reason now, she wants to attack people who essentially went through the same shit she did at Fox News, only worse. But she wanted sympathy for that, but now she doesn't want us to have any sympathy for those victims of Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump, okay? She doesn't want anybody to feel any sympathy for those people. In fact, she wants to question the very nature of these women being victims at all. No, she wants to say Epstein said, well, in some parts of the world, this will be fine. Well, look, Epstein was not born and raised in other parts of the world. He's an American. He was an American, okay? So forget this argument about other parts of the world. We don't live in Saudi Arabia. We live in the United States of America. And in this country, what goes on there, what Epstein and Trump is wrong. It's against the law. That's what we do in this country. Who cares what they do in their countries? If they want to endorse and legalize pedophilia over there, that's their business. But in this country, that doesn't fly, or it shouldn't, okay? So Epstein was trying to make excuses in the most convoluted way to justify the shit that he was doing, you know, with Trump. And the emails that have already come out, okay, have shown, you know, there's a lot more that hasn't been said yet. There's a lot that needs to be said. And a lot of questions that need to be asked, you know, about this fucking debacle. But, you know, the White House with the Justice Department are bending over backwards to protect this man, this criminal, from seeing any charges or any justice at all. Okay? And then I think Megyn Kelly had said, well, we don't see a torrent of victims coming forward. Really? I've seen a lot of videos about what the victims have said. Maybe she's not looking, okay? And another thing too, there's always this perception that if they come out and say anything, they could just disappear. Okay? There's that fear still, you know? I mean, you think about all the shit that Trump has done and gotten away with, okay? That's, you know, that might make other people feel a little bit hesitant about wanting to come forward and say what happened to them, because, you know, if they're not wealthy and they can't afford a ton of lawyers to defend themselves, what's going to happen to them? But, you know, there are victims who have made statements, have made videos, you know, with online interviewers and stuff like that. They're out there. Megyn Kelly is trying to minimize this and saying, "Oh, they're not acting like victims because they're not saying anything." Well, she's a fucking liar. They're everywhere. I've seen a number of them show up on TV here, CNN or something like, you know, people being interviewed who are victims. There's a lot of them out there. Okay, it's just that today most people don't watch television news because we don't get the fucking facts like we're supposed to. But if you go online and you go to different sites out there where people are doing news, you will find victim statements and stories being told about their experiences with Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, Mar-a-Lago. All that stuff comes out. Okay, and there are a number of them. We have to support those victims and keep them protected and get them to come forward, because only in that way is there ever. I mean, it's just like what happened with what's that guy the other, Harvey Weinstein. Okay, it took a whole bunch of victims to come forward, you know, in order to bring that guy down. Okay, his crime sparked the Me Too movement. Okay, and that's what we need to repeat here. And even though we perceive Trump as a bigger fish, this is a fish that really is full of fucking flaws, which means he might be powerful and wealthy and stuff like that, but he can easily be brought down because of his own flaws, all the crimes that he's done. Okay, he can be brought down. And certainly enough, if you cut this fish open, the stink from that is going to turn everybody away. So that's the thing that's going to have to come out, is that we're going to have to gut this fish, Donald Trump, so the whole world can get a whiff of what's inside this man. And when they smell this stench coming from Trump, I'll tell you right now, ain't nobody going to want to come forward and defend this motherfucker, okay? You know, and that's what Trump knows. He knows he stinks, okay? He fucking knows he stinks. And he's not going to do anything to let that stench get out to the public. Now, he may ride this thing out till the day he dies and never see justice the light of day. He may get away with it in that fashion. Okay? But it won't matter to anybody once the truth comes out then about this man, because, hey, you know, we can't punish him. He got away with it. That may be true for Trump, but for everybody who spent all their time, money, and energy defending this man, you're going to go the rest of your life with a huge fucking egg on your face. And whatever you tell people from that day on about anything, no one's going to care what you say about a fucking thing. Your credibility is after that, because you defended the most sickening criminal fucking person we ever had in this country. Okay? There's no telling how deep this shit goes with Trump, because he won't let you see it. Now, if he's so innocent, why is he trying so hard to hide it? Okay, why has he got Pam Bondi out there doing all these things and trying to shut up the press? Get out of here, get out of here after the, what the hell's going on here? If he's so fucking innocent, why are they trying so hard to shut everybody up? Why won't he answer a simple goddamn question? He won't even. They ask him a question and he talks about the weather. He talks about how Walmart's doing good. Distraction. That's his art. The art of distraction. Okay. I have more doubts now that when he was running for president last year, the person that supposedly shot at him and clipped his ear, I doubt that was even fucking real. Yeah, sure, somebody supposedly died, you know. But was this really an assassin that was out to kill him, or just to pretend? Shoot a bullet at him. And how do we know it just nicked his ear? I mean, we see his ear all the time on TV. Looks fine to me. I don't see any fucking damage. I mean, if it clipped his ear, I mean, you don't, you know what I'm saying? I don't see that. I have my doubts. You know, and then this other convoluted story about a guy waiting for him at a golf course, you know, to shoot him. I mean, okay, these are stories that were thrown out there that were never really dove into, like we did with the JFK assassination. Nobody's ever asked any follow-up questions or hinted, you know, or to this day still wondering what the hell went on. Nobody. It's all quietly just gone. Okay, just like last year, all those fucking drones that were flying around all over the damn place. Nobody talks about that either. Okay, so again, like I said, if these are the things that are happening, and like I said, Trump is not a person you want to trust with your 6-year-old daughter. Okay, I know people say, "Oh, Biden always sniffing wet girls' hair." Well, Trump's probably gone a few steps further than that. Okay? And if you guys are still going to bitch about or compare Biden to Trump, you guys are lost. Okay? Your argument don't hold any fucking water. All right, let's go to commercial break. We'll be right back.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
He said it over and over for years.
Can you guarantee that Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security will not be touched?
Yeah, I mean, I have said it so many times, you shouldn't be asking me that question. Medicare, Medicaid, none of that stuff is going to be touched.
Nothing.
We're going to love and cherish Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. We're not going to do anything with that.
His biggest MAGA supporters said no cuts to Medicaid.
It is wrong to cut health care for the working poor.
There's a lot of MAGAs on Medicaid. I'm telling you, if you don't think so, you are dead wrong.
The effect of this bill is to break a promise.
Trump lied.
The Medicaid cuts could cause nearly 12 million people to lose their health insurance.
With this mega bill set to enact the largest cuts to Medicaid in decades, experts are warning that many struggling hospitals in rural communities could close their doors.
But they're not cutting it. They're looking at fraud, waste, and abuse.
He thinks you're stupid and he can fool you. He doesn't care about your health insurance. All he wanted was your vote. Donald Trump. It's just not working.
Never mix salt with these 2 ingredients if you don't want your hose to be rock hard tonight. Every time you see an older man with a young woman, you can bet he's using the salt trick. In fact, I've been left unable to walk for more than 4 days because of it. This talk about women only wanting money is just an excuse from guys who can't perform in bed. What women really care about is whether a man can heat things up in the bedroom and keep everything working. Having worked in the adult industry for many years, I discovered this after watching a video by Emily, a friend and former adult film star. In the video, Emily reveals that every man has a little hidden button on his body. When activated, it can make even 80-year-old men stand tall and be ready to handle any young woman for 2 straight hours. Dr. Jack Jordan scientifically proved this, and the method works so well that it makes your body stay rock solid whenever you want. All you need is the salt recipe in the morning with a bit of warm water. It takes less than 15 seconds. Fun fact, this recipe was banned for over 40 years because it threatened the sales of the famous little blue pill in pharmacies. After the video about salt featuring the ex-actress went viral, I can now share it here. Just click the link in the description or the pinned comment to access everything you need to make this recipe. Watch the video alone because it includes some very steamy practical demonstrations. Jack shows exactly how to do it and the results it delivers instantly. Everything you can imagine happens right in front of the cameras with nothing censored. So grab your headphones, click the link below, and get ready for content so hot it might even make you want to join in yourself.
Smishing and a splashing over the horizon, what can it be? The pilgrims sailed the sea to find a place to call their own. In their ship Mayflower, they hoped to find a better home. They finally knocked on Plymouth Rock, and someone said, "We're there." It may not look like home, but at this point I don't care. Oh, they were missing Mother England. They swore their loyalty until the very end. Anything you say, King, it's okay, King. You know it's kind of scary on your own. Gonna build a new land the way we planned. Could you help us run it till it's grown? They planted corn, you know, they built their houses one by one. And bit by bit they worked until the colonies were done. They looked around, yeah, up and down, and someone said, "Hooray! If the king could only see us now, he would be proud of us today." They knew that now they'd run their own land. But George III still vowed he'd rule them to the end. Anything I say, do it my way now. Anything I say, do it my way. Don't you get to feeling independent, 'cause I'm gonna force you to obey. He taxed their property, he didn't give them any choice. And back in England, he didn't give them any voice. That's called taxation without representation, and it's not fair. But when the colonies complained, the king said, "I don't care." He even has the nerve to tax our cup of tea. To put it kindly, King, we really don't agree. Gonna show you how we feel. We're gonna dump this tea and turn this harbor into the biggest cup of tea in history. They wanted no more Mother England. They knew the time had come for them to take command. It's very clear you're being unfair, King. No matter what you say, we won't obey. Gonna hold a revolution now, King, and we're gonna run it all away with no more king.
We're gonna elect a president.
No more king.
He's gonna do what the people want.
No more king.
We're gonna run things our way.
No more king. Nobody's gonna tell us what to do. Rocking and a rolling, swishing and a splashing over the horizon. What can it be? Looks like it's going to be a free country.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it. Write for Pollution Booklet, Box 1771, Radio City Station, New York.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it. It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
welcome back, everybody. I saw this thing here. I don't know how many people are even aware of this, but this showed up on my website here. Kristi Noem, the lady there that shot her dog. Okay, she's forever going to be remembered in that contrast, all the time. A firm tied to Kristi Noem secretly got money from $220 million DHS ad contracts. On October the 2nd, the second day of the government shutdown, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem arrived at Mount Rushmore to shoot a television ad. She's sitting on a horseback in chaps and a cowboy hat. Noem addressed the camera with a stern message for immigrants, quote, "Break our laws, we'll punish you," unquote. Noem has hailed the more than $200 million taxpayer-funded ad campaign as a crucial tool to stem illegal immigration. Her agency invoked the, quote, "national emergency," unquote, at the border as it awarded contracts for the campaign, bypassing the normal competitive bidding process designed to prevent waste and corruption. The company running the Mount Rushmore shoot, called the Strategy Group, does not appear on public documents about the contract. The main recipient listed on the contracts is a mysterious Delaware company, which was created just days before the deal was finalized. No firm has closer ties to Noem's political operation than the Strategy Group. It played a central role in her 2022 South Dakota gubernatorial campaign. Corey Lewandowski, her top advisor at DHS, has worked extensively with the firm, and the company's CEO is married to Noem's chief spokesperson at DHS, Tricia McLaughlin. Quote, "It's corrupt is the word," unquote, said Charles Tiefer, a leading authority on federal contract law. Quote, hiring your friends as subcontractors is like playing hide the salami with the taxpayer," unquote, Tiefer added. Of all people, to do something like that, of course, it would have to be somebody tied to the Trump administration, okay, or the Trump regime, I should call it. And she's still on this tirade about immigrants, okay. The only one thing that probably still unifies MAGA at this point is that. Is it a coincidence that she's making ads like this? I don't think so. I think she is probably feeling the waters here, as it were, to try to either drum up support for herself or something later on down the road that, people will rally to her, the same MAGA idiots. Or she's doing this to sort of, in the background, kind of keep the support dollars coming in for Donald Trump, or other Republicans because of the midterms that are coming up. I mean, there's a lot of other hidden reasons why she would make some stupid ass thing like that. Let's see here. In this story here, which I mean, it's kind of old news, but it's still in development. Okay, this issue here. New prosecutor has taken on Georgia election interference case. Veteran lawyer Pete Skandalakis will assume the case alleging President Donald Trump and others conspired to overturn his Georgia loss in the 2020 election. The original prosecutor, Fannie Willis, was disqualified due to a romantic relationship with a special prosecutor she hired. Skandalakis, who heads the nonpartisan group tasked with replacing Willis, said he took the role after several other attorneys declined. Separately, Trump called on the Justice Department to investigate prominent Democrats and financial institutions' ties to Jeffrey Epstein. The move comes after the House released thousands of emails from the Epstein estate, some of which reference Trump. So what else here we got? Yes, big thing that everybody's been talking about, that China has found a new pile of gold, the largest deposit found in over 70 years. They found 1,444 tons of gold, which is worth about $193 billion at current prices. And this comes as there is a recent surge in gold prices, with the cost per ounce hitting an all-time high of over 4.3 thousand last month. The World Bank expects gold prices to rise about 42% this year, marking the strongest annual increase since the late 70s. And this story here, which is a a story going on here in Maine, Casco Bay, entitled "The Push to Get Invasive Crabs on the Menu," by Christy Lee Nielsen from Noema. I guess that's how you say that. Casco Bay, Maine. It's a humid summer day on an island off the coast of Maine. Thick air seeps into the cabin, making everything feel damp, even the white bed sheets that smell of salt and mothballs. Down by the cove at the forest's edge, the dogs sniff along a strip of sand where the gently lapping waves wash ashore. Perpetually chilly, this part of the Atlantic Ocean courses around the islands off Portland. Even in summer, I find it best to swim at high tide, after the briny bay has climbed half a dozen feet over sun-cooked sand and rock. But water temperatures in the wider Gulf of Maine have been steadily climbing. It's an average of 2 degrees Fahrenheit warmer here than it was 30 years ago. In fact, the Gulf is warmer more rapidly than 99% of the world's oceans due to bathymetric and atmospheric conditions. Those 2 degrees of additional warmth are a shocking, life-altering change for some of the marine life in the intertidal waterways, including Maine's primary edible ocean product, the lobster, which is showing signs of moving north in search of colder seas. Taking lobster's place as lucrative fishery offerings are bivalves, oysters, mussels, scallops, which appreciate waters a little warmer than lobsters do. Green crabs, an invasive species that also thrives in warmer water, have proliferated as well. They come up in lobster traps and appear in the tide pools I used to squat down to examine as a child. And these days, in many spots along the coast, if you look down, you'll see their muddy green-brown shells scuttling off in all directions. So prolific are green crabs on Maine's coast now that they outnumber native rock and Jonah crabs, which they eat, along with snails, soft-shell clams, and other bivalves that are vital economic products in a state that relies heavily on its fisheries. Even juvenile lobsters have been found in the stomachs of green crabs. This has caused serious issues for businesses like Naughty Sisters Sea Farm, which floats in the water off Little John Island. Its rows of plastic oyster cages bob between buoys in the shifting tides. Each is home to 100 or more growing oysters. Alicia Gyro maintains the farm with her sisters, Amy and Chelsea. Naughty Sisters use fine mesh floating oyster cages for larger oyster seed and bigger sunken cages for the smaller seed. These bottom cages, or quote-unquote condos, as they're called in the biz, are unfortunately accessible for the green crabs, which can simply crawl in and gorge on tiny growing oysters. They also make the cages heavier, which gets problematic when you have to lift them out of the water dozens of times a day. On a skiff out by the oyster cages in late June, Gyro expertly hooked a buoy and hauled up one of this year's bottom condos. Quote, "Last year we were so overwhelmed," she said as she worked. Quote, "We just started filling crates with green crabs," unquote. "People sometimes would come to take them," she went on, "but Naughty Sisters doesn't have refrigeration, and the green crab distribution network is inconsistent, so they don't know who might show up looking for some or when." Gyro plopped the condo onto the deck of the skiff, crabs of all shapes and sizes scattered out. One green crab snapped its front pinches in the air defensively. She grabbed it and tossed it into a 5-gallon bucket. Like most oyster farmers, she and her sisters usually smash the crabs and compost their remains back on land. Native to coastal Europe and North Africa, green crabs arrived in North America in the 1800s, likely via the ballast water of merchant ships. They can now be found on every continent except Antarctica and are one of 100 most harmful invasive species worldwide. Viciously versatile, green crabs grow quickly, may reproduce multiple times in a season, and are comfortable in a wide range of ocean temperatures. The harsh conditions that once kept their populations in check, really cold waters, sea ice, are growing milder. And as Marissa McMahon, the Senior Director of Fisheries at Manome Conservation Sciences, explained, in warmer waters, green crabs will reproduce more quickly and begin to do so at younger ages, causing a population explosion. Green crabs are such aggressive predators they cost shell fisheries on the East Coast an estimated $22.6 million annually in lost revenue. Quote, they love bivalves, they love soft-shell clams, they'll beat up on small lobsters, they beat up on native species, they mow down eelgrass, unquote. Jason Goldstein, the researcher director at the Wells National Estuarine Reserve Research Reserve. Quote, so there really aren't too many good things we can say about them, right? Unquote. But for intrepid fishermen and creative chefs, there may be just one good thing to say about them. They can taste pretty good. Humans can be very effective at controlling animal populations when motivated to do so. We have hunted native species to extinction. So one approach that scientists and chefs are experimenting with is the consumption of invasives, also known as invasivism, to try to control their expanding numbers. The strategy of, quote, beating by eating, unquote, unwelcome creatures has been embraced around the world. Humans have reshaped entire ecosystems with their appetites. One of the most famous examples is the Asian carp, sometimes called, quote, the most hated fish in America, unquote. They are well established in the Mississippi River Basin and found as far north as the Great Lakes region. High-jumping carp evade low dams and other attempts to control their population, and they compete with local fish for resources. Carp can have a muddy taste and are considered by many Americans to be a quote-unquote trash fish. But this is partly due to a misunderstanding. The muddy association may come from our tendency to associate all carp with the Asian carp's bottom feeder cousins. Some reports suggest the flavor of Asian carp, which feed typically on plankton and algae in upper levels of rivers, is rather light, and when properly prepared, they can be tasty. Similarly, the feral hogs that plague Texas and the southern United States can be eaten just like any other pig. And if you're a fan of the bright green seaweed salad often found at sushi restaurants and in Asian buffets, you're doing your part. The wakame variety of seaweed used in those salads is an invasive species that is, in my opinion, truly delicious. Other edible invasives include some species of crayfish, the nutria, a semi-aquatic rodent, lionfish, and the armored catfish. Many of these species are commonly consumed where they are native. Distaste for them in new places is often cultural due to their being unfamiliar to their palates where they invade. All that's required to enjoy them is a good recipe. And unlike some consumption that can come with a side of guilt, preparing an invasive species for the dinner table can bring a feeling of comfort in helping native habitats. You know, that's true, because when I was a kid, and my mother used to try to get me to eat vegetables, right? You know, especially Brussels sprouts. She'd come up with a way to fix that. It's called spices, seasoning. You put a little bit of something on there to improve the taste, and those fucking vegetables ain't gonna be there long. Okay, so I can eat Brussels sprouts and all these other vegetables that little kids today won't eat because I know how to prepare them so that way they taste better. Okay, that's basically what they're saying about these things here, is that if you get some chef that's creative and loves to cook and do all kinds, he can come up with a recipe for these things that you won't normally eat, and it would taste spectacular. Okay, and that's all it really takes to get people to eat things they would normally eat. Okay, so yeah, I mean, it's a good idea to try and you know, reduce this invasive crab thing going on here in Maine by saying, okay, look, we can't, I mean, we would destroy the environment trying to destroy these crabs. So instead of, you know, doing what we've been doing, let's just see if we can't make this something people can eat. I mean, there's so much of it out there, you know, you wouldn't really have to charge a lot of money for people. And if they like it, you know, Jesus, you just opened a whole new market, you know. So I say, yeah, let's give it a shot. You know, get some of these fucking crabs out of the water that go in the cages when there's lobsters in there. Pull them out of the water, take it all. Lobsters, the crabs, all of it. Just take it all out of there, okay? And make sure, you know, when you eat these things, you know, they're you know, they're not going to be something that's going to kill you down the road. But, you know, make sure they're good for human consumption first. Once you've determined that, then you can do something about the taste. Figure out a way to make them taste better. Come up with a recipe. Get some, you know, brainiac chef that'll come up with something to make those things taste better. And then before you know it, you can start introducing them into restaurants and stuff like that. People will eat them. They might like them. And before you know it, you just started another seafood thing here, you know, that normally wouldn't be on the menu because people look at those things as, okay? I mean, look, lobsters started off the same way. Only poor people would eat lobsters because nobody else wanted them. They'd say, that's gross. It's its own shell, and what the hell's inside that shell? You know, people got pissed, you know, they didn't want to see a lobster. Now you can't even get anywhere near them. What was it this year? They say this year was the highest per pound for a lobster. You know, you go to a restaurant, even here in Maine, to eat lobster, where we get lobster, you're going to be paying $35 for, you know, a pound of lobster meat, okay, or half a pound, because, you know, a 1 pound lobster does not contain 1 pound of lobster meat, because you don't eat that whole lobster. You only eat the claws and the tail. The rest of it you don't eat, okay? So when you ask for a 1 pound lobster, you're not getting a pound of fucking meat. So for a 1 pound lobster, it costs $35. You know, that's a lot of fucking money. That's why it's such a delicacy, and why, you know, it's people only eat them at certain times of the year. But like I said, that in the beginning, you know, nobody wealthy would eat a lobster. That was a dirty thing to eat. Okay, but how times have changed. Once people started eating them and said, you know, they ain't so bad, you know, and all of a sudden now everybody wants them. That's what these crabs could end up being, is the next lobster. You know, people thinking that, oh, they're all shit, they taste shit, okay? Now people probably be buying them through the fucking nose. They might even outpace the lobsters. So, yeah, I found that interesting. Anyway, I just, you know, I don't know if you guys, those of you that like seafood, you know, you might find that interesting. I'll certainly give it a taste. If I see, you know, whatever the hell they call it on the menu or something, I'll try it out and see how it tastes. You know, I like the crayfish. There's a Chinese buffet restaurant that serves crayfish over there, and to me, I like how they cook it. It tastes spicy, and it tastes like a little like lobster. They're tiny. They're like little miniature lobsters. They look like little miniature lobsters. And you scoop them up and you get a whole bunch of them on a plate. I mean, they're big in New Orleans, I guess. But they taste good. I mean, I could sit there and eat them things all fucking day and it wouldn't get full. Maybe because they're so small, but they taste good. I like those things. But again, that's something, a trash thing that, you know, people would, you know, they wouldn't eat that. But hey, I'm still kicking. I'm alive, and I think they taste great. You know, depending on how they're cooked. I don't know what they put in the, you know, because I guess they boil them or something like that, and they put seasoning or something in there. But it's really good. That's what one of the best, my favorite things over there at that buffet is the crayfish. And if you haven't had crayfish, get it. You know, try it out. You know, get it at a good restaurant because they'll know how to prepare it right. Try it out. I mean, yeah, you know, bring a wetsuit because you know, like, it's a lot of water and stuff like that. And it's just like a lobster. You eat a lobster in a restaurant, you're gonna splatter the walls. I mean, because there's water inside that fucking thing where they cook it. You know, but anyway. I guess that's it for today. So I hope everybody has a great rest of the weekend. So subscribe, comment, share, and keep your ears open for health-related issues. And please treat each other kindly out there, and watch yourselves. Watch how you spend your money, okay? Be thrifty. Be thrifty this year, especially now where Christmas is coming. Don't just buy big-ticket items because you think that, you know, you want to, like, you know, spending $500 on a pair of sunglasses. Don't do that. Don't do that. There ain't a pair of sunglasses in the world worth that can't be broken in 5 minutes, and then you're fucked. Okay, just be smart with your money. We all have to be smart with our money now. So I'll talk to you guys later. Take care. Bye.